welcome everyone to another episode of the Leadership Drip. I'm your host, Clay Green, and I'm happy to be back with you again today. On today's episode, we're continuing with the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and today's law is the Law of Priorities. Let's dive into this. In our fast-paced world, it's easy to confuse being busy with being productive. We're constantly bombarded with tasks, messages, and demands on our time. But here's the thing. Not all activities are created equal. And this is the essence of the law of priorities. So, what exactly is the law of priorities? Simply put, it states that leaders must recognize that some activities are more important than others and focus their energy on what matters the most. It's about understanding the difference between mere activity and meaningful accomplishment. Imagine a leader who spends their entire day in meetings. Sounds familiar. Answering emails. Again, very familiar. And tackling a never-ending to-do list. They keep growing. They're busy, no doubt. No doubt. But are they making progress on their most critical objectives? And that's the question the law of priorities forces us to ask. Now, let's break down why this law is so crucial for effective leadership. Resource allocation. As leaders, we're constantly making decisions about how to allocate our most precious resources, time, energy, and attention. The law of priorities helps us make these decisions strategically. It's about focusing our efforts on the tasks that will have the most significant impact on our goals. Think about it this way. If you had only 3 hours to work today, what would you choose to do? The law of priorities helps you identify these high-impact activities and prioritize them, even when you have a full day. Then there's goal achievement. We all set goals, whether for ourselves, our teams, or our organization. But without a clear understanding of priorities, these goals can get lost in the daily grind. By applying the law of priorities, we ensure that our actions align with our objectives. It's like planning a road trip. You wouldn't start driving aimlessly hoping to reach your destination. You'd plan your route, focusing on the major highways that will get you there the fastest. The law of priorities is your roadmap to achieving your goals. Then there's time management. Time is our most limited resource. Once it's gone, we can't get it back. The law of priorities is a powerful tool for managing our time effectively. It doesn't mean ignoring less important tasks altogether, but rather tackling them in a way that doesn't compromise our ability to accomplish what truly matters. Think of your time like a jar. If you fill it with sand, small, less important tasks, first, you won't have time for the big rocks or your priorities. But if you put the big rocks in first, the sand can then fill in around them. That's effective time management through prioritization. And then finally, team productivity. As leaders, we're not just responsible for our own priorities, we also guide our teams in setting and managing theirs as well. When we model the law of priorities, our teams are more likely to follow suit. This can lead to increased productivity, improved time management, and a more focused, goal-oriented work environment. Imagine a team where everyone understands and focuses on their top priorities. Tasks get completed efficiently, goals are met consistently, and there's less stress and burnout. That's the power of the law of priorities in action. So now that we understand why the law of priorities is so important, let's talk about how to apply it effectively in our leadership. Here's a few practical strategies. Identify your high-impact tasks. Start by identifying the tasks or activities that have the most significant impact on your goals. These are often the tasks that, when completed, contribute the most to your mission's success. It involves revenue-generating activities, strategic planning, and other key responsibilities. One effective way to do this is to use the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. This principle suggests that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So, identify the crucial 20% and make that your priority. You need to learn to say no. This is one of the most challenging but vital skills for a leader. You cannot say yes to everything and still maintain your priorities. Evaluate requests and tasks that come your way and be prepared to decline those that just don't align with your high priority objectives. And then remember, every time that you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Make sure you're saying yes to the right things. Be sure you're delegating effectively. Leaders who understand the law of priorities also understand the value of delegation. You don't have to do everything by yourself. Delegating tasks to capable team members not only lightens your load, but also empowers your team and helps them grow. When delegating, consider not just the task at hand, but also the development opportunity it presents for your team members. This way, delegation becomes a win-win situation. Be sure to use some time management tools. There are numerous time management tools and techniques available to help you stay on track with your priorities. From traditional to-do lists to digital project management tools, find what works best for you and implement it consistently. One popular method is the Eisenhower matrix, which helps you categorize tasks based on their urgency and their importance. This can be a powerful way to visualize your priorities and make decisions about how to allocate your time. Next, regularly review and adjust your priorities. Priorities can shift over time, so it's essential to regularly review and adjust them as needed. As circumstances change and new information becomes available, your priorities need to adapt. Set aside time each week, month, and quarter to review your priorities. Are they still aligned with your goals? Have new priorities emerged? This regular check-in helps ensure that you're always focused on what matters the most. And then finally, communicate those priorities. Your team should be aware of your priorities and the reasons behind them. Effective communication about what matters most helps your team to understand the bigger picture and aligns their efforts with your vision. Consider holding regular team meetings to discuss priorities. This not only helps everyone be on the same page, but it also allows for valuable input and feedback from your team. Now, implementing the law of priorities isn't always easy. There are several challenges that you may face. One of those would be urgency bias. One of the most significant challenges in adhering to the law is the natural bias towards urgent tasks. Urgent tasks often demand immediate attention, and they might not always be the most important. Leaders can learn to distinguish between what's urgent and what's truly important. To overcome this, try using the important versus urgent matrix. This tool will basically help you categorize tasks and focus on what is most important, but not necessarily urgent. Then there's the fear of missing out, or FOMO. In our hyper-connected world, leaders may fear missing out on opportunities, information, or trends. While staying informed is crucial, leaders should not succumb to FOMO and divert their attention from their high-priority task. Combat FOMO by reminding yourself of your goals and the potential cost of the distraction. Sometimes, missing out on less important things is necessary to achieve what truly matters. Don't fall into overcommitment. Leaders may find themselves overcommitted, saying yes to too many tasks and projects. Overcommitting can spread a leader's focus thin, making it difficult to excel in any particular item. To avoid this, practice saying no more often. Remember, it's better to excel at a few important things than it is to be mediocre at everything. Take time to clearly define your goals and your objectives. The clearer your vision, the easier it becomes to identify and focus on your priorities. So let's look at some real-world examples of the law of priority in action. Consider Steve Jobs during his return to Apple in 1997. The company was struggling, producing a wide range of projects with very little focus. Jobs' first priority was to streamline Apple's product line. He famously reduced Apple's product offerings by 70%, focusing on just 4 main categories. This radical prioritization allowed Apple to concentrate its resources on creating truly innovative products, leading to the development of game changers like the iMac, the iPod, and eventually the iPhone. This example illustrates how powerful priorities can be. By focusing on fewer, more important priorities, Jobs was able to turn a struggling company into one of the most valuable and innovative in the world. In conclusion, the law of priorities is a fundamental principle of effective leadership. It reminds us that not all activities are equal in terms of their impact and importance. As leaders, we must learn to distinguish between what's merely keeping us busy and what's moving us towards our goals. Applying this law requires discipline and sometimes making tough decisions. It means saying no to good opportunities and saying yes to the great ones. It means delegating tasks that others can do to focus on what you really need to work on. It means regularly reviewing and adjusting your priorities as circumstances change. But the rewards of mastering the law of priorities is immense. It leads to greater productivity, more effective time management, clearer focus, and ultimately, better results. It allows you to lead with purpose and intention, rather than simply reacting to whatever comes your way. So as you go about your leadership journey, constantly ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now the most important thing that I could be doing? If the answer is no, it might be time to reassess your priorities. Remember, leadership is not about being busy. It's about making a meaningful impact. And the law of priorities is your guide to ensuring that your efforts are always directed towards what matters most. So that's all I have for today's episode of the Leadership Drip. So keep prioritizing what truly matters, and we'll see you on the next episode. P.S. I highly advise each and every one of you to run over to theclaygreen with an E on the end.com, and there is a prioritization checklist that is available for you right at the top of the page. I think this would help you with being able to set your priorities by quarter, year, day, and be able to help you with prioritizing the work that you do and making you a more effective leader. Thank you all once again. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Leadership Drip. If you found today's discussion valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and please leave us a review. Stay tuned for more insightful conversations on leadership and business. Until next time, I'm Clay Green, and I'll catch you leaders on the next episode.